This is amazing. This is actually has the score and the fingering on it, which is so useful. I cannot emphasize how useful that is. Hey guys, I hope you're doing well and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Esther Abrami for those of you who don't know me yet, and I'm a violinist. Today's video is going to be about violin practice mostly, and I actually realized that I haven't done a practice video in a while now. This one is actually going to be a bit different though. I have my violin with me, but I'm actually going to be practicing and learning with a video platform. I'm going to be basically watching the videos and taking notes and on different aspects of violin technique. Today's video is in partnership with the platform tonebase, and this is the platform I'm actually going to be watching videos from and learning from today. So tonebase is a platform online where you can find videos from like top players, top teachers, about different aspects of violin techniques, different pieces, and I'm going to be going through it today. The link of the platform is down below in the description, and there is a special offer for all my subscribers of 30% off to access the platform. Also to say that there is a 14 days free trial, so you can like try it out without actually being charged anything, which is quite useful. Okay, so let's get into it. So I'm going to start. I was quite intrigued by one of the lessons by So this lesson is going to be on Scheherazade, the famous orchestra solo, like violin solo in the orchestra. I've actually played this, and this was actually one of my audition pieces, orchestra audition pieces for my master degree at Violin Conservatoire. And it's like one of the like basic orchestra accepts that they always ask.
This is one of the most commonly played pieces in the repertoire. What for you is really the story that you're trying to tell when you're playing through this piece?
Well, the story itself is interesting enough.
So if we look at the syllabus, what's quite nice is that we can actually go from one thing to another. So if we wanted to get straight into like the kind of technical aspect of it, we could. So like, I guess the beginning is like the story of the piece, you know, we could jump to like the fingering, phrasing and articulation, which is kind of what I'm interested in actually. So
how do you think about the legato, the phrasing and the fingerings and just in general the sound?
I've heard so many recordings before I even...
This is amazing. This is actually has the score and the fingering on it, which is so useful. I cannot emphasize how useful that is. Like I used to spend so much time, you generally spend a lot of time with fingers, like fingerings on, bowings, etc. And I remember that for orchestra auditions, what I used to do is like watch like so many videos online and like try and slow them down, like to try and get the fingerings from different players, see what works best and like get inspired from their fingerings. So the fact that here we've got the fingerings that he uses that are clearly written on there and the bowings, like that's amazing.
I didn't want to smear in the beginning, so I thought maybe there's something I can do that's very unusual, which is substitute after the first note going down after this, actually the second, the D natural.
Really, really useful. So not only we've got the fingering that is there, but you've got to explain on why are we doing this thing? Why, you know, because obviously fingering is a very personal thing, right? Like it really is. So it's great to have it explained, because even if sometimes you kind of see it on like in a video and you see somebody doing it, you might be like, oh, this is so weird, like this feels weird, why are they doing that? But here it's really explaining that, okay, you know, if you don't want that case at the beginning, you can just... This is really good.
Therefore, eliminating any slide. Not slide, but rather a shift. Slides are fine, but shifts are not to be heard.
I think that's an interesting quote actually, like slides are fine, but shifts are not to be heard. And actually, so you can actually like put notes in there, which is really nice. So I like, for example, I quite like this quote, so I'm just gonna put it there. Like slides are fine, but shifts are not to be heard. That's cool, I think. Yeah, I think I can also that to show and not show the score? Yeah. Okay, we're gonna keep the score. That's really good. I love seeing the score. I try to always do that as well in my practice video, always show up the score. It takes a bit of editing work, but I think it really makes it so much easier to follow and just more interesting. So I'm just gonna I'm gonna try all the buttons just to see what they do. So we've got, this is all the scores there. You can like basically all the excerpts of the scores when he talks about it. So, and then view syllabus. Oh yeah, obviously if we want to change to another chapter, which is what I did before. And also nice to see what's being covered. Third movement solo and ricochet. I'm quite interested in that one. I'm like in the focus on ricochet at the moment, and I'm trying to watch as many videos as I can. I'm trying to get different like thoughts on it and like techniques on how people do it. So I might actually just jump to that one. Let's do that one.
I control the up bows, the first two. And I eliminate the very last one on the down bow. Because I don't like that as far as the liquidity of it. It should almost, I'm trying to emulate a balalaika with all of these things. These kind of should not be over-controlled.
I think that's a really interesting point, that it shouldn't be over-controlled. I think a lot of the time with ricochet, we try and like over-control it. We try and literally like control every note, and then it just doesn't work anymore. We just make it too complicated. But I think, and that's something that can often happen in violin practice when you like go into so much details that you end up like over-complicating things. And I think that's definitely a thing with ricochet. Like obviously like you've got to practice it. There's a technique for it, but it shouldn't be that controlled. Like you've got key points where you do control it, but there's a lot of times where you just let it go. And I think I'll write a note actually there. Ricochet, do not over control. That's definitely a very interesting point. I want to try these buttons out actually. So you can actually download their workbook where I'm guessing, oh that's amazing. Like yeah, so you've got the actual the whole lesson basically written down with everything that has been said. Summarized there, which is really useful. Like with the scores there, that's great. That's really great. And the other button, download edition, and you can have the score, which is really good, really good. Again, like honestly, I cannot tell you how useful it is when you're doing orchestra auditions or just generally learning a piece. And like you start from scratch and you don't really know where to go. And you know, especially like a lot of the time during summer or holidays, you've not seen your teacher for a while, and it's amazing to have like these kind of tips on there and already like a base of fingering. And even if you do change later on, but at least you've got that. Like it's not completely, you're not completely blank. Like you don't have a completely blank score, which is amazing. Cool. I'm actually gonna jump to another lesson that actually caught my interest early on when I was going through the platform, which is all about right hand technique and about ricochet, because I did say that I was like focusing on ricochet at the moment. So I'm gonna try this one out. I want to see what they say about that. So let's go into, where was it? Right hand technique, there we go. This is the one I wanted. So you've actually got, this is lesson 12, but we've got so many of them, like bow grips on production, collé, martelé, détaché, like literally every bow technique that you can think of is on there, and is being explained, which is again very useful because a lot of the time can easily get mixed up with how to do exactly these different techniques, especially with bow techniques that are quite similar. There's sometimes that little thing that's going to change between them. So let's go into ricochet. Okay.
So, the rebound effect, otherwise known as ricochet. Very important to note that in pieces like our Mendelssohn concerto.
Okay, so this is like obviously the like prime example, Mendelssohn concerto. I think that's the the prime example when you've got this like whole section of ricochet, and then the orchestra comes in, comes back in with the theme, and it's like my favorite moment. I think generally in all classical music pieces, it's just I love that moment. And we're going to be obviously talking about that really here.
There's always a ricochet passage there that gives us violinists the cold sweats.
Usually singing the orchestra part in my head.
So how do we do it? So the easiest way to start practicing ricochet is to take those figures that are marked with slurs and practice them simply slurred, but on the string. So don't worry about the bow's bounce just yet. So
I think that's a good point. I'm actually, do you know what, guys? I'm actually working on a piece at the moment where there is a ricochet part. It's not Mendelssohn. It's a piece called Storm, and it's for a concert, like a tour of concert I'm doing with an artist called Voracles. And in the piece, there's a violin solo, and it's got a whole part of ricochet. So it's obviously not the same as it's not the same harmonies, but it's very, very similar. It goes like around these chords anyway, and you've got ricochet for quite a while. You start slowly and then you like accelerate. It's really nice. So I'm actually gonna kind of use it as an example. What he's saying on Mendelssohn concerto, I'm going to use it on this. So basically saying that first you practice it without worrying about the bounce. And I think that's a link also to the fact that, we shouldn't overcomplicate things, we shouldn't over-control things. So don't worry about the bounce just yet. So just... etc. Okay, so that's the first part. Okay.
the bow, think again of the bouncing basketball analogy where you're just kind of like,
So then we're going to be adding that
So you
moment.
do that with your wrist, and that gives the impulse to the first note of every group.
So that's, again, just important. I think we talk about giving the impulse on the first note, not on giving an impulse on every note, definitely not. So we just have this impulse on... something like that, I'm guessing.
Starting to take off.
And then, that's
important to note that in order for the bow to take off, it's very important to be
flat hair.
Flat hair.
There you go. Okay, so definitely writing that down. This is a super important part. Flat hair for flat hair. This is because actually, if you don't have that, your bow just doesn't jump. It's mad. It's like I don't have flat hair now. That's tonebase. This is flat hair. Yeah, it makes a big difference.
You can do it with the bow tilted, but you see the quality of the bounce and also the inherent core to the sound is missing. And just start slurred. Speed it up.
Speed up, and there's add the impulse.
With that flick of the wrist, flick of the wrist, flick of the wrist. But important that the flick of the wrist doesn't change the angle of the bow. You can do it. Flick, flick, flick. And you remember we talked about finding the bow's natural bouncing point where you kind of search for it more or less in the middle and just let it kind of trail off.
This is very important as well. Finding the right part in your bow where the bow is like naturally jumpy. That's different for every bow and every player. So you've got to test it out and find it by yourself. So I'm actually going to be stopping there in the lesson just for today's video. I really enjoyed actually going through tonebase. I think it's an amazing tool. I really do. I think especially for when you don't have a teacher right next to you all the time, and to generally also just have different opinions and different ways of looking at it. Like things that, for example, I knew already, but things that is so nice to hear again, to kind of say, okay, yeah, that's true. But things that you tend to forget, you've been taught a while ago, and you forget, and especially when, you've got a piece, for example, like what I did with ricochet. For me, it was very important to just check back on these basics of, am I doing everything that I should be doing there? Have I got everything? Maybe I missed something, maybe there's something in which, I can make that better. I find it amazing how it's all really nicely put, that you've got the scores. This is honestly amazing. Fingerings, and you can download the edition, you can download the actual lesson as a PDF, everything's written down. So if you'd like to try it out, there's a link. You can get 30% off for access to tonebase, and there's a 14 days free trial. So you can try it out for free. So anyway, I hope that you enjoyed the video and that was useful. It definitely was for me. I think that ricochet is really coming out now. Really excited about that. And I'll see you next time. Thank you so much for watching, guys.